Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be taking some of the most iconic movies in movie history and transforming them into a pyramid display similar to the Bad Batch one that I created last Wednesday. Now I'm a big fan of these new mock pyramids and there's definitely going to be a few more on this channel, but today we take it to the maximum and I just wanted to see how many scenes I could stack up in a pyramid before it tipped over. So there is a total of 10 different scenes from 6 different movies, including Star Wars, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, and I think the best thing to do is get to the desk and show you them all. But of course, if you do end up enjoying this video, do drop a like and make sure you are subscribed to not miss out on more awesome LEGO content. And you may wonder why I am holding the 8080 like a pet, and I do think it looks like a small dog of sorts. But that is because sometime this week we will be taking the 8080 and seeing how many clones we can fit in it for episode 5 of my series. It does seem to be quite fun trying to fit clones in different sets, and I did say that when we hit 1,000,000 subscribers, if I'm still doing this series here on the channel, I'm definitely going to be picking up the UCS version to celebrate and cramming as many clones as I can in that. But the reason it's 1,000,000 subscribers is because I feel like we've got so many other sets I can do before then, and it's definitely an expensive set, so I would appreciate your support hitting the subscribe button and staying tuned for that milestone. But now let's take a look at the movie pyramid. And what you can see here is all of the movie scenes I have recreated. Even the cameo from, I think it's the only non-Disney movie. I don't know. Is E.T. Disney? E.T. might not be Disney, but E.T. and Mario do have an appearance in here. Actually, Harry Potter's not even Disney, so only half of these are Disney. I think we'll start with Harry Potter. It was the first one that I created, so it only makes sense to start here. And as you can see, I've recreated the Battle of Hogwarts from Deathly Hallows Part 2. One of the most iconic scenes. Surely it's probably the most iconic Harry Potter scene, but I'm sure all you Harry Potter fans will argue that with me down in the comments. But I think it's the most memorable scene for me, and honestly, at the time, one of the most impressive visual anything scenes that I've seen in a movie. Voldemort and Harry facing off, of course, the commands for one command both the wands, so I think this might be the killing curse coming out of the wand. I'm not quite sure exactly what the scene's representing, but we do have the two towers next to where Voldemort and his army walks through, and then we've got the bridge in a micro scale of sorts, and then a little bit of Hogwarts to the side. So it was a bit interesting. I had to create this column here to hold up the next layer, but I think I pulled it off quite well. I did try to create some rubble like you will see in the Avengers section, but because it's in micro scale, the studs do work a little bit as some sort of rubble on the floor, and even the odd cheese slope just looked a bit too much. Perhaps it would have been better to have blown it up and done just the one arch from the bridge, but they do line up. I'm sure I'll show you at the end me breaking it down and lining up this and the Star Wars scene, because they do work as a sort of extended 8 or 10 by 20 mock. And again, I'll show you that towards the end of the video. The next one I built was this Mario scene. It's not a scene from the Mario movie exactly, but I think the Mario movie did so well I had to include it. I did really enjoy the Mario movie, and most of these movies are quite old now, so sorry if that makes you feel old, but Star Wars, even Avengers, come out quite some years ago. So Mario was one of 2 of the newer movies that I included. You probably get a sneak peek on the right. But it's actually the end scene, the mid-credit scene with the Yoshi egg in the sewers, sort of leading to either a second movie. Perhaps they just included that to give Yoshi a little cameo towards the end. But of course, in the Yoshi's Excellent expansion set, we got for Mario, which is the only Mario set that I own. We got the Yoshi egg, and it looks great in this sewer. We've got a bigger pipe leading through to somewhere else. We've got a few cracks in the wall, as you can see, some pipes coming out into the floors, and all the rubble from the fight above it on the street. And I really like how it turned out. Again, you can see I've just used a bunch of slopes and different rounded tiles to give this rocky terrain on the floor, And we also get a pipe of some sort. I think it's more of some of the structure holding up the street above it. And I've just represented that by a red phone, which I was initially going to go with Benny's sort of space box that he comes with in the CMF series, but decided the red phone did the job, and it was a bit flatter. It didn't have the handle on top, it was built into it, so I think it pulled it off quite well. Now, the next scene, I'm not sure many of you will recognize it, but that is an old Han Solo minifigure. So of course it's Indiana Jones. I was going to also make a Marianne minifigure to sit next to him, but I decided there wasn't enough space because on the outside of this it's sort of hidden by the shadows. So I will put a better image on screen for you, or perhaps we'll even see it a bit later. There is Indiana Jones's hat hanging up on the balcony, which of course he grabs at the last minute. Is it going to be the end for Indiana Jones? Probably, but I like the way that they ended it, just like Crystal Skull with him picking up the hat, and I guess Indiana Jones is never technically done. So I'd love to see some more stories, just even comics about Indiana Jones and all the adventures that are name dropped in all of the movies. Now, speaking of well-received movies, the next Avengers mock is technically based off two movies. So initially I did it based off the first one, which is why you've got some like road with all this broken rock around it, which is actually the broken bridge from the first Avengers movie. And then I realised I wanted to do more mocks above it and needed to build some walls, so took a bit of inspiration from the round column that they fought and sort of protected in Age of Ultron. And that's somewhat where the arches come from, which is why there's all the brickwork dotted around on the arches as well. So again, this does add up. I'll show you just in a minute or two. All three of these do sort of surround each other, and I guess I could have even built a fourth with Ultron in the middle and what they were protecting in the movie. But I think these three sort of get the scene across. No matter which scene you want it from, the 6 Avengers are present, and I've even bulked up Hulk just to get him looking a bit bigger than the other minifigures. And as you can see, next to Hawkeye, he is quite big. Now, the Hawkeye minifigure is the only custom out of all 6. It uses his CMF Hawkeye torso, and I've just given him some plain arms and that spiky hairpiece that originally I'm pretty sure belonged... No, the Hulk had it in black. I can't remember where I got that specific one, but it's the same hairpiece that Lego give the Hulk. I think it looks better for not just Hawkeye, but actually Iron Man really suits that Lego hairpiece. And then, of course, we've got the actual minifigures for Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow with some awesome arm printing. You love to see it. And also Thor, who has got a better minifigure, I believe, since this one, but this is the one that I've got, and if you've already got a Thor, there's not much point in getting the new one. But now, if you are new to the channel, you might not realise this is probably my favourite movie of all time. I don't think there's anything that adds up quite to the Star Wars franchise. And a lot of love is given to Empire Strikes Back for being one of the better original trilogy movies. Personally, I think that about all 3 trilogies. The second movie just is sandwiched between them and has all the juicy bits of the Star Wars trilogy. But as you can see, I recreated the father scene, as I call it, from Empire Strikes Back. And some eagle-eyed viewers may spot the clip and bar elements in the middle. Yes, they do connect, and it does look really cool. I couldn't perfectly line them up so that the borders are matching, but as you can see, I've just added some grey pillars to enable me to fit the ET modular bit on the top of the display. And we've got Vader reaching out his hand on the right, Luke hanging on for dear life on the left. With his missing arm, you can see his hand has been taken off, which technically is an illegal Lego technique, but it helps to portray the scene even better. You've got Luke's bruised and battered face from the fight scene where he's been hit with all these metal objects, and I really think it looks pretty well in this mini scale. Now, of course, this isn't to scale. This is not quite the size of the diorama. It's slightly less, but I still think it shows the scene quite well, especially with all of these movies that I've recreated for this pyramid. But it wouldn't be a pyramid without the very top, the point of the pyramid, which has this recreated scene from E.T., the extraterrestrial. Now, if you weren't aware, I did recreate this for an ideas contest, and I think that's still up. I'm not sure if you can support it, but definitely go check it out through the link in the description. And I've actually used the Miles minifigure. You can see slightly there just under the hood. I've used the Miles Morales minifigure because it's got that jacket slash jumper. It's got the red hood, and I've just given E.T. a stud at the front, recreated the bike crossing the moon using a very, very similar technique to what I used in the ideas post. You can actually have the bike hovering off the ground because the bike is made of a bunch of different bar elements, which means you can just add a clip, and we'll definitely take a look at that in a second. But now I think it's time to break apart all the different modular pieces, show you most of these connected, and just the other areas of some of the builds. In fact, before I do that, you can see just at the back that brown sort of pole at the back. That is holding this whole thing up, because if I was to remove that and take that away, you can see it starts falling back, leaning against the monitor. So if you're trying to build your own pyramid, I definitely recommend sticking with 9 squares instead of the 13 I've tried to use. But of course, you can do it. You just need some sort of support, which is this wand-like structure that I've built here. To give you a quick look at just how easy it is to pop some of these parts off, of course, I've already done ET. They're only being held on by these bricks, and I definitely needed 2 hands for it. But all I'm doing is just popping it off. I have built this base using 2 of the 4x8. So these are actually 8x8 rather than the 10x10 I used for the Bad Batch. And because I am securing them straight to the bricks below, as you can see, that's just crumbled in my hand. So we'll ignore that one. But because I've built them straight onto the bricks below, there's enough support that this isn't going to be wobbling anytime soon. I didn't want to mess around with putting some tiles and plates because it'd make the whole thing loose. And as you just saw, this frame for the top 2 was weak enough as it was. So imagine just knocking one of these and the whole thing collapsing. It's just a pile of mess that I don't really want to be dealing with. So now that I've broken the pyramid down, and hopefully you can see all the different parts on screen, I think we'll start off with Harry Potter because that was the first one I spoke about in the pyramid formation. You can see that I've got the bridge just along the back bit there, and they add up quite nicely. Of course, there's no longer room for Harry and Voldemort to be dueling because they're not at that angle, and you'll see with the Avengers, it does cramp up the space a little bit more. So actually, it's quite nice when they are diagonal, but they do line up. I built them just like this so that I made sure the bridge had these same distances between the windows, for instance, and it does look really cool no matter how you want to display them. So the Mario and the ET modular parts, I guess I could show you the bike connection for the ET one, but besides that, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. There's not really much hidden. As you can see, the center of the moon, or the round plate I used to represent the moon, does have the black candle element sticking out, and that then holds one of the superhero posers, which then holds a black clip, which you might be able to just see in there, which holds up the bike and makes it look like the bike is floating because it's not connected to any studs or on any of the plates at the bottom. Now we do have the Avengers mock here, which as you can see, they're all around in the middle. I really wish I'd included something in the center. You can see there is a Chitauri just laying on what would have been the bridge behind Thor. Of course, you'd probably have to switch him out for some Iron Legion or one of the Ultron sentries if you wanted to represent the scene that I then went with from Avengers 2. But it's sort of a mix between the two. You got references to both, but if I created another 4th corner, it definitely would have that middle column. I can't remember. I think it was a bomb or something that they were trying to defuse. I can't really remember, so I have to go back and watch that. But I think it looks really cool. Of course, it's not rounded. It's Lego. I've squared it off, but it still gets the point across from the scene. Now, I did say the Star Wars one clipped together. As you can see, the hinges are connected and the clip pieces are holding the other one on. And this is quite a cool scene because you can see it from pretty much 360 different views. If you took an image at every degree, it would still look just as good. I guess probably not. You know, it don't look too bad from the back, but you can see Luke's hand is missing a bit more clearer from this angle, and of course that bruised up expression on his face. And Vader is reaching out for him to take his hand. Of course, he's just lost his hand, so perhaps that's a sore subject. I've also included the pipes that were cut down in the scene just here with the black marking on top, which I don't know if Lego included. Lego probably did include, but if not, that's something that a lot of people miss out on when Luke's hand is cut off. There's actually some pipes that are cut, release a little bit of gas, and really wanted to get that in the scene. Perhaps I should have even included Luke's hand just falling down, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. And then we've got the Indiana Jones hat here, which is hanging just outside the window. A few plants on the balcony bit here. The stairs is just a bunch of the clip elements with the, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's this 2x1 that's sort of the height of the brick with the bar on it. They're really good for making these steps. So I'm very happy with how it all turned out, and overall I am really impressed with the pyramid. And one of the best parts about it is you can display it as a 6 tall pyramid, even a 3 tall pyramid. You could just build the Avengers scenes and stack them up in a little triangle. That'd look really cool, and you could probably build this to even display most of your minifigures. But as you can see, there are some really interesting scenes you can create across multiple, even just the Avengers here at the bottom. Rearrange them as you please, especially removing the weaker ones like the Star Wars displays. And I hope you did enjoy this video. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe for more awesome content, and may the bricks be with you always.